Hey guys, welcome back to the Tegiwa YouTube channel. We're joined today with Tino from FaithlessEmoRacing.
You right there?
So he's got plenty of GR Yaris videos. Brought GR Yaris down today.
Yeah.
We're going to be fitting this Coolerworx shifter.
Definitely.
Yeah. What do you think, Tino?
Well, I have to say, something I've been looking at. There's a few of them out there on the market. I'm interested in it because it's going to raise that gear stick up nice and high, so you get nice quick shifts, shorten that shift length as well. Hopefully avoid maybe some misshifts and things like that.
Yeah, so Coolerworx say that it offers 40% reduced throws between gears. So we can take some measurements and stuff between the OEM and this to see whether that claim stacks up. And yeah, like you said, you do a bit of drag racing every now and then, don't you?
Yeah, I've done drag racing in the GR, I've done track racing, track days, I've done a bit of sprint days and hill climbs, done a little bit of everything in it. So anything that can improve that kind of shift, because the GR shift is pretty good. It's not a 10 out of 10, but it's pretty good. There's a little bit of slop in it. It's not the best part of the car. So hopefully this is just going to tighten up that experience a bit more. Yeah.
So we're going to open the box now, see what's inside. Yeah, let's get on with it.
Yeah, let's go for Christmas.
Again.
Nice.
There you go, Tino.
Thank you very much. It's nicely packaged as well. Really nice quality on the product there. So we've got the shifter, the actual like mount. Do you want to say a bit about the knob?
Yeah. We list the shifter with the black knob, but you can leave us a note, or we can spec out a different coloured gear knob if you want. So you've gone for a red, and that will match the sort of GR colours nicely, won't
it? I think GR Yaris, well, I've got it in white, so black, white, red kind of all goes together. Toyota colours as well.
Yeah. So a few things to like note on the shifter. It's nicely intricate GR detail. So not sure whether you'll actually see that once it's fitted, but it's a nice touch nevertheless. It's nice to have thought about it, and it's specific to this car rather than like this cage being universal.
As you say, I think it's a nice touch that they kind of gone that little bit of extra mile to say like, yeah, this is
for a GR. Yeah. And what's good about this is that we think it should fit without having to chop the interior up, which is really important, especially on a new car like the Yaris.
Yeah, I think especially because there's a lot of talk about homologation specials and stuff like that. So I think if it's a modification that you can do, and if you do choose to go back to standard and there's no cutting, damaging of the original car, I think that's
definitely a win, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a hand assembled thing, so it's finished in black, it's all anodized, and it fits with the OEM gear linkages as well.
Got the reverse lockout, so you still retain that, so you're not going to be able to misshift straight from forward to reverse. Yeah,
don't go from forward to reverse, because that will be bad times for both you and your car.
And whoever's behind you.
So yeah, we're going to pass it over to Tino now. He's going to go into the workshop and fit this on his car. Yeah. And catch up with you at the end of your installation.
Yeah, let's get it sorted.
Mint.
So, before we start, we want to see where we're starting from. So, this is completely stock GR Yaris inside. There's a few mods outside and performance-wise, but stock inside. So, we want to see what kind of shift we've got to start with. So, if we take it from third to fourth, let's measure that shift. So, from the top of the gear stick to the top of the gear stick, from third to fourth, you're looking at 9 centimeters, which is what, 3.5 inches for Imperial out there. So not too bad. And if we have a look, a little bit of play, that's in third gear at the moment. There's a little bit of play there, but not too much. It is a pretty new car after all. Position wise, if we take from the top of the gear stick to the middle of the steering wheel, again, this is rough. You're looking at about 17 centimeters, 6.5 inches. And across, you're looking at, what's that? 14 centimeters and about 5.5 inches. So that's where we're at from stock. Let's see if we can take this apart and get this shifter fitted. So first thing we need to do is just take this stock gear stick off. It should just unscrew. So if you screw counterclockwise, don't drop it. That's got some weight to it though. But yeah, that's the stock one off. Put that to one side. Next thing we need to do, we need to get into this part of the transmission tunnel. So we're going to go in first via the glove box. So if you pull this down out the way, you should see this gloss black trim just here. So if you get your fingers just behind it here and then just pull towards yourself, there you go, it pops out. Nice little red clip, that's all that's holding it back really. We'll pop that down here for now. So next thing to do is we need to remove this piece here around the gear stick. So if we put our hands behind and lift up, there we go, it's come, and it should start moving out towards us. Might need a little bit of persuasion around here. There we go, so if you get your fingers under there, it should pull out that way. There we go. There we go, now it's loose around here for you. Next thing is the USB panel here, so we just need to try and wiggle our way into this. There we go, it's come a bit further. There we go, and you can just pop that out. Right, so here we've got two plugs, one to the blank and one to the actual USB port. They're two different plugs, so it doesn't matter if you get them mixed up because they'll only go back in one place. So the first one is just a push down tab, and the second one should slide out like that. That's another piece of your interior out. Those two cables there, don't worry about those too much. Now this should come towards us. So this little corner here can sometimes get a little bit stuck under here. If you just get your fingers in, lift up the dash panel, and away it comes. Now this should lift towards us, and we need to take off the shift boot. Should come up over, I believe. Just to get the shift boot off, there's this little collar on here. We can just literally put our fingers in, round, yeet, and that's gone. And that should now pull off. And we're going to turn this over. And you can see there are a few plugs down here to disconnect. Okay, so we've got a few plugs here, just basically to the cigarette lighter and the controls on the center console. Again, push buttons, and these should just pop out. There we go. Rest that down there. In fact, that should be enough space for us to get at what we need to get at. So I'll put the spring down there. So yeah, now we've got the shifter mechanism exposed. We can see down here we've got the linkages coming in from the stock transmission and this kind of cage, and this is what we're going to be replacing with the Coolerworx shifter. What we need to get at now, by the looks of it, is some 10mm bolts down here, and then get these linkages free as well. My hope is if we loosen these off, then we should be able to lift up the linkage and disconnect it from the actual transmission. This one down here is a little bit tricky to get to, but we may need to take this middle console out, but we'll find out in a moment. So next we need to try and get these linkages out of the mechanism here. So I believe so when removing this gear stick around, there is also another clip here which is just held on by pop. There we go. And that should free that out of the way for you. Right, so now we've got these cables out the way, it's probably going to be easier that we take out this center console here. So let's try and get that done now. Right, so first of all, I'm going to try and take out these front two. Yeah, they're at 10mm. Next thing is back of the console here, where you've got the cup holders and like a little cubby hole. Just get your hand underneath it and lift it up. You'll feel it pop like that. It should come loose, and that should come up out the way. So the shifter boot round the handbrake, just need to give it a little bit more of a pull and it should come free. And then there's one plug on the underside, just in there. There we go. And that's that disconnected. Right, now we've got the bottom part of the handbrake removed. We've got those 2 front bolts, and now we've got 2 down here. So we've got 1 between the handbrake and the gear stick, and 1 just behind the handbrake. Those again should be 10 mils, which are not even tight. That one was finger tight. Wow. There we go. There's 4 bolts out now. So now this lower part of the transmission tunnel should come backwards towards you, and hey presto, Bob is your uncle. So now we have access to the 13mm bolts, 4, 1 in each corner at the side of the stock shifter mount. We can loosen those off and then we can get this going. So now with it quite loose, we've got a few things connected on little pop sockets, so you can grab a soft plastic trim removal tool, try and just get underneath these, and it should be able to pop these out. There we go. So once you're under, it should come off. And you can do the same on the driver's side. These ones here are little black ones. These are a little bit less stubborn usually. That's one. There we go. Right, so left side's out, right side's out. The shifter linkage is pretty much the only thing that's holding it in now is the actual mechanisms. Just one thing, be careful because there is quite a bit of grease around this. Of course, it's Toyota, want to keep it moving nice and smooth, so you are going to get a bit of dirty hands on this one. So next up, we're going to try and get this linkage off. So there's a little safety pin on here. I'll lift it up. It should come out. That should then come off this little spindle. Fantastic. So next up, we've got this other clip that's just under here. Again, it's another safety clip, can kind of pushes out both ways. Probably need 2 hands. There we go. That clip should start. There we go. So to get these, to get the linkages actually out of the mechanism, there's a little collar here. Turn it to the right towards yourself, and it loosens it off and pops out like that. So just turn it, and it's kind of spring loaded, and then you just lift up and it comes away. And that's the stop mechanism out. Right, so now we've got the stock housing out. Be a good job just to give it a quick wipe down, make sure there's no grease or anything like that. So before we get rid of the old shifter, the only thing that we need to transplant over is this little cup at the end of the pivot of the gear stick. It is going to be mighty greasy, but if you give it a good pull or use a trim removal tool, we should be able to get that off. So yeah, we just use a flathead screwdriver just to pop it off. As you can see, it's got the little retaining gaps on there, and then we'll fit this back onto the Coolerworx one. So now we've got the transferred over, we're going to offer up the shifter, put the shifting cables through the shifter to start with, so we've got plenty of space to work with, and this should land using the same bolt holes as the original stock shifter. Again, these kind of holding clips, we unwind, turn into the right, and then they should slide down over the brace. The Coolerworx shifter is a little bit thicker here, so you are going to need to unwind it a bit more than we did with the OEM one, but these mechanisms here are kind of spring loaded, so they push back. Right, so that's now in the right place. So at the bottom here we've got the 2 linkage cables. So the first one will just slide over and we'll secure that later, and the second one, again, remember we've got this little clip that we need to open out. That goes into there, all the way in, and now that's secured on that cup there, so that's not going to go anywhere. Right, so now all we're going to do is soft seat these 4 bolts in the original holes. These are the ones that Coolerworx supplied, and they've also supplied the Allen key as well. I'm not going to put these in all the way, but we just want to make sure they're in enough that we can get the position right. As you can see, Coolerworx supplies these tiny little grub screws. There's a couple of them and a very small Allen key. Now these are just going to go down into this left-hand linkage. There's two little holes and they'll screw in there just to hold it nice and secure. Okay, so the next thing that you need to transfer over was, do you remember that little clip from the shifter? So we're going to take that off. Well, we've already taken it out of the original shifter, and that's going to go on this left-hand shifter cable, and that's just going to lock it in place, make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Now, top tip at this point is there is a hole of doom here. Now, anything you're going to be using around here, either tape onto the end of your tool or have a magnet handy, because once it goes down there, it's going to be a bit hard to get it back. Right, so the clip will go in one way. It's got kind of the hook, a right angle corner there, and you want that towards the center of the car. There we go. Integral part of the gearbox is your gears. You need to be able to go forwards, but you also need to go backwards. So the Yaris has a reverse lockout, and what we need to do is actually set that up. So by default, the shifter will allow you to go all the way left and right, and would allow you to go from forward gears straight into reverse. So we need to work out the lockout. Now how that works is we've got a few small grub screws, and there is this piston here. So when you pull up the reverse lockout, it moves the piston out of the way. So the idea is reverse is all the way over to the left on the GR Yaris. What you want to do is when this reverse lockout is not pulled up, we want to limit the movement so we can't go all that way across. So what we want to do is put some grub screws in here so we can push against this piston here. So what I've just done is I've just turned the engine on, put the car in reverse. We've got the reversing camera on here so we know it's gone into reverse, so then we can put it back into first. And then we know this is going to be the limit of how far we want to go to the left when we're changing gear. So now we can line up this grub screw just so it's hitting on the cylinder here. So we can put the car into reverse. The reverse lockout now works with that grub screw where it is. If I pull it back, we can pull it all the way across and into first, second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth. So there's first and it's in. So now we need to lock this grub screw into place. So it's done by two methods. First one is one of these very small grub screws, comes in from the top, and the second one is a little nut that goes on the end of the actual grub screw that's come in from the right. Now the shifter looks like it's set up for multiple cars, so this looks like this is the default Coolerworx mechanism, so that's why there is 4 holes. Now on the GR Yaris you don't need to use all 4, it's going to cause you more issues, so yeah, that's the best way to sort it out. So we take this small grub screw with the smallest Allen key and then just feed it in from the top. There we go. And that's just going to bite down on this grub screw to keep it in the same place. Make sure it doesn't back out with vibrations. So what I'm doing here is just testing all the gears, going in and out of them, making sure that we're getting good engagement and that they're going all the way in and we're not getting any bind up or miss shifts. So you can see there's a little bit of gap, maybe 1, maybe 2 millimeters at most between the grub screw and this cylinder here. And that's just to make sure that we can get it all the way across and into first, but not so close that it actually ends up interfering with this and stopping us getting first. So that's first, second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth. And then if we want reverse, all the way across and we're into reverse. So this here is a 7mm spanner, so I'm just going to knit this up a little bit tight, not fully tight yet. So what we're going to do now, it's not fully assembled, got no trim in, and it's 90% tight. So we're just going to take it for a quick drive and just make sure everything's still working when we're in motion. So let's go for a quick drive and see how it goes through the gears. that's all through 6 gears there, so nice and smooth. Shows the throw's lovely and short, goes up and down the gearbox great. There's also nice mechanical feel as you go into the gear. Wow, you can be so quick with those shifts. So we've been for a quick test drive just to make sure it's all working, can go through all the gears great, and it can do it. So now it's a case of putting it back together, which is just a reversal of the procedure that we did to take it apart. But one key note I'd like to give a shout out to Coolerworx is they have put little provisions on the aluminium here for those clips that we took off the stock one. I think that's a nice little detail, because otherwise these would probably be just hanging around, rattling against the car, and that's not going to sound great. So it's going to go back just like OEM, which props to you. Another thing that we just need to put on before we button this all up is these little white clips that come off the original one. Now these are like a little safety retainer, and they go over 2 little pegs and then clip down over the shifter cables. Nice simple one, but just so we're in place, ready to go when we put the car back together. So we just want to get this surround out so we can get the gear stick gaiter out of the way. On the other side, you can see a little red clip here. If we apply some pressure and push it down, that will start releasing that. We've then got some clips on the side here. There we go. Once you get the clip out here, it should then separate on the side here. Now we can't take this piece all the way out further than about there, as, where is it gone? You can see this clip here. As you can see, Toyota kind of plastic welded that in there. So that's not going to go very far, but it should give us enough access to pull out this surround here. Cool. And then one down here. There we go. Okay, so to get the shifter boot out, it is a little bit tricky, and you're going to be delving deep into here, and there's a few clips you want to aim for. So the shifter boot is held in by clips here, here, there's one round the other side, and then 2 at the front. I found the best way to get it is just push the clip to one side, push the clip to one side, put a little bit of pressure, and pop, it comes out there for you. You can then work that all the way through, and then release the shifter boot. So now we have the shifter boot out, but we have retained all the other plastics here. If you're doing this at home, it might be worth just putting it down on a soft cloth just so you don't scratch any of the soft plastics. So now we've got the shifter in, we can see how it compares to the stock one. So let's do a throw from 3rd to 4th. So that's in 3rd now. Again, I'll do it from the top of the gear stick. So the top of the gear stick, 3rd to 4th, you're looking at 6 centimetres, or just under 2.5 inches. So that's a big improvement. If you put it into gear, you can feel it's nice and solid. Still goes into reverse, nice and easy there. Position wise, if we keep it from the same point on the steering wheel, go straight across, we're still at 15 centimetres to the centre, but oh wow, we're 1 or 2 centimetres off the centre line here, so dropped the stock height quite a lot, so it's right close to the steering wheel. In total, yeah, as I say, we're 14 centimetres across and 2 centimetres down, so it's right there, shifting nice and quick, but also make sure you don't get any of those misshifts. And sometimes when you can enjoy the car, you can get a bit of a tunnel run. That's just great. Makes the car bags of fun to drive. God, such a quick shift. So first thoughts, the shifter has made a massive difference actually to the driving experience. The car feels like there's a lot less pause between shifts. We can shift through gears a lot quicker and it feels a lot more accurate and tighter. I don't think there's going to be any of this I don't think there's going to be any of this second to third misshift that you can do. It still feels nice and refined, like I'm sitting here cruising in 6th gear, there's no rattles, it's not in your face, it's really pleasant, and I have to say, like, you can change gears so quick, it's almost like you're going to have to speed up your clutch foot, because you got to get your foot off that clutch even quicker. Look at that, and it makes a fantastic noise as well, like that mechanical just changing of gears. Spot on, really impressed with it. There's no extra working traffic because the clutch is still the same. The auto shift blip for the shift still works perfectly fine. You can cruise. Really impressed.
Okay, so it's been a few hours.
Yeah.
I can see that the shifter's now in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
How was it?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I think getting it apart, dead simple. I think the trickiest part was getting it back together with all the plastic clips. But I think that's just a case of modern cars. Modern cars, interiors are held together with clips galore here, there and everywhere. But on the plus side, it's a modern car, so the clips aren't 15 years old and they're not snapping on you. So they nice and supple, they pull apart. And I think Toyota have put in a couple of those red clips, and that really helps you to kind of line up, you know where you're going with those kind of things. I thought the adjustment was dead simple. I was surprised by that. I thought it might be something that was a bit tricky, lots of faffing about, but if you just stick it in first gear and then line it up from there, you know that that's limiting the left side travel to the top of first gear, and then you can just then figure out the reverse from there. So that was good.
Cool. And have you got any tips or advice on anyone that might be wanting to fit one now?
To be fair, it's follow the video. Like, we did a lot of the hard graft trying to figure out what works. Coolerworx didn't give us any instructions. I don't think they come with any instructions.
No, so if you're watching Coolerworx, instructions would be appreciated.
Yeah, instructions would be appreciated. So it's kind of fun trying to figure out, oh, right, this needs to go here, this needs to go there. We just need to manipulate this left and right. We had some funky angles trying to get some of the plastics back in and which bits go where, but we figured it out. As I say, if we wasn't filming, you could probably do this in a couple of hours.
Okay, cool. So a couple of hours, if you go into a garage, you shouldn't really be paying any more than 2 hours late.
Yeah, and what's nice, you don't need to get it up on a ramp or anything like that. Everything's done on the interior. They've done a good job of nothing's damaged during it. Everything's reusable. Even the boot gaiter, you can reuse that. That comes off as one, so there's no damage there either.
So it was literally fit and forget almost, no cutting.
Yeah.
And it's easily reversible too.
Exactly, yeah, you reverse it. The only thing that I wouldn't forget is once you've got the shifter off that hole, you don't want to drop anything down there. So we dropped a couple of clips down there. So a magnet's handy. If you've got some masking tape, maybe mask it up or fill it in with a rag, just in case you do drop anything down there. We did go for a black knob in the end, so we were tossing up about going for the red knob, but when we actually looked at it, with the interior of the GR Yaris is pretty dark, there's not much there other than black seats. I think the black looks really nice, gives it that kind of look of, you kind of look in there and you go, something a bit different here, you look a little bit closer, but yeah. It's going to be a cold one though. I think I mentioned to yourself, we're going to need some sort of warmer on the top of there, because on a cold day's morning, that's going to be a cold shift.
Cold knob.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does look good. It's almost OEM plus, obviously it's a crazy big shifter, but the colour's amazing. And I guess a red one, that red would actually match the colour of a red Yaris quite well as well. If you did want to go for that. So this shift is available for just under £618 at the time of filming. We've got them available on our website, go and check them out, as well as a host of other GR Yaris parts. Thank you for Tino for coming down, FaithlessEmoRacing.
Yeah.
Make sure you go check his channel out, you've got plenty of GR Yaris videos on there.
Yeah, do some GR Yaris content. We also do some like sim racing, so Gran Turismo iRacing, try and get a bit of a stream going every now and then as well.
Yeah, thank you for coming down.
That's all right, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah, so like and subscribe if you like the video. If you've not, then sorry.